Now coming to the last segment of this chapter, students, we are about to cover the dimensions of business environment, which are very important and have been asked with surety over the years of time. In every year sample paper, this question on dimensions, various macro environment features and the components have been asked. So let us have a closer look on this topic from NCERT. You see on just below the characteristics, as we discussed, the importance of business, study of business environment, there is a topic on dimensions of business environment. So whenever students you are talking about the dimensions, you must remember that they are 5 in number as per your book, and which you can remember as PESTLE. These are the dimensions of the macro environment because it is on a larger scale that it affects the business. It includes P for political, E for economical, S for social, T for technological, and L for legal conditions that affect the surroundings of the enterprise and that leads to the relevant decision making and also improving the performance if they work in coordination. So one by one we are basically discussing these points. This is a clear circular diagrammatic representation. This is P for political, E for economical, S for social, T for technological, and L for legal environment. This is, we can call it the macro segment of the business environment of a business. Now the very first one being P for political. Dear students, in NCERT there have been many lines to these particular components and you must go through once all the lines because generally the case studies are formed in between the lines. So if we see the first component called P for political environment, it includes the general stability and peace, elected government and its representatives, the political conditions that underlies in a country, and of course the political stability, thereby building up of confidence of the people due to that stability. So these points have been talked about. It is also talking about attitudes of government officials having either positive or negative impact on the growth of the business. Government officials, we can say the bureaucrats and the other governmental machinery that is working in the environment. Apart from this, students, you must go through the boxes that have been depicted under various sections of this topic to have a better understanding on the environmental features. So here in political environment, they have talked about the system, the degree of politicization, the ideologies of the parties, political parties involved, the leadership and their political personalities, the political morality, the institutions like government and allied agencies, in which we were talking about the ministries, departments and bureaucrats, the political ideology and practices, nature of government's intervention in business and relationship of one country with that of a foreign country that impacts the business. So dear students, it is always advisable to, if you want to master this particular segment, you have to go through these boxes as depicted for each segment in your NCERT book. So coming on to the next dimension, that is economic. Let us see what it has to say. Now under economic environment, students, generally the things that are talked about are these. which have been given in the boxes. Private and public sectors. Then you see the rates of GNP, GDP per capita income, the savings and investments, imports and exports, the balance of payments, or we can see through the foreign exchange reserves, the agricultural and industrial productions, the expansion of transportation and communication facilities, money supply in the economy, debt structure, internal and external, and similarly their effects in different private and public sectors as we discussed. So these are the key points. Wherever you see these words in the case studies, you can easily comment that this is none other than the economic environment. And if we see the brief explanation on this in your book, they are talking about interest rates, inflation rates, the disposable income of the people, stock market indices, the value of rupee, as we talked about foreign exchange reserves. Then few examples are also given which you should concentrate upon, like in the case of construction companies and automobile manufacturers, long-term interest rates are beneficial because increased spending by consumers for buying homes and cars, borrowed money. So these have to be long-term interest rates. And similarly, they are talking about disposable income of the people due to gross domestic product increase in the country. And high inflation rate is another topic of concern under the economic environment. So students, be familiar with these words from the NCERT, from where the case studies can be picked up from this segment of the chapter. Now if we see the third dimension, it is about social aspect. The social aspect is basically relating to the population, the customs and traditions and values and societal norms by which the people are governed, and they have an impact over the working of the business. Like very wide example, known example from the book is regarding celebration of festivals, different festivals which provide significant opportunities for the business and companies to manufacture according to the demands. Then again, it is advisable for you to go through the box with respect to this segment as given in your book. You see the box is in blue, major elements of the social environment, and it says product innovations, lifestyles, occupational distribution, consumer preferences, the quality of life of the people, their life expectancy which is gradually increasing year after year, expectations from the workforce, then presence of women in the workforce. This has been a highly vibrant topic throughout. Birth and death rates, the population shifts, educational system and the literacy rates, the consumption habits and that of the family, composition of the family. So all these points you must take care of whenever you answer a question as social environment. Coming to the next one, we have PESTEL T, that is technological environment. When we say technological environment, we must not forget to mention about scientific improvements and the various innovations leading to new ways of production and providing services, techniques of operating the business, restructuring, re-engineering as we talked about. So the excessive use of computers in information kiosks and www, World Wide Web, multimedia, in highlighting the business through its web pages, the links, the stock market working through the systems. So all these have been talked about, and there have been gradual changes. There have been robotics, the larger role of artificial intelligence these days will also come under this, biotechnologies, food preservatives, medicine, telecommunications, synthetic fuels. So all the advancements and new innovations that are coming up in the recent times is covered under this particular segment of the business environment. Now the last one being L, the legal environment. See students, never get confused. Whenever you get question on this dimension, it will always be some decisions at the level of the government in the form of law. Law is the key word in this, where you can see that few acts, if they have been passed, will cover the changes under this particular dimension of the business environment. This is all depicting the use of technology in booking of the tickets these days. Then you see under legal environment, you should have the adequate knowledge of rules and regulations framed by the particular government in a particular land. Then we have some acts like Companies Act 2013, then the Foreign Exchange Management Act, Import and Export Control Act 1947. So generally with the names of these acts, Factories Act 1948, Trade Unions Act 1926, Compensation Act, Industrial Dispute Act. So wherever you get this question on legal aspect of the business environment, there will be some acts, particularly those which are also part of your syllabus, like Consumer Protection Act 1986. So this is all about this segment, students. Be aware and remember these dimensions as in the form of pestle: political, economical, social, technological and legal. Right, students, this is a case-based questions on dimensions and components of business environment. Where we need to identify the components and choose one of the following options. So if we read the case from top, Goodwill Enterprises is a large-scale automobile manufacturer who fulfills the need of both industrial users and consumers. The company is providing easy finance facilities at a low rate of interest, which has considerably increased the demand for the product. The company has installed a new branch management software to efficiently manage and coordinate the activities across their multiple branches and locations. So you see the two important points that have been talked about in this case study, students, are the low rate of interest, financing at a low rate of interest, and secondly, the installation of management software that points towards the technical component and economical component of the business environment. Therefore, the option D with economic and technological environment should be the correct answer for this question. Another question, it says that we need to identify the dimension of business environment which led to the creation of negative impact on business. So even after opening up of the Indian economy in 1991, foreign companies found it difficult to cut through the bureaucratic red tape to get permits for doing business in India, which created a negative impact on the business. So after the economic policy of 1991, the foreign companies were allowed to open to the Indian market through LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. But due to bureaucratic red tapes, the cause is the red tapeism by bureaucrats, which discouraged the business outside India and led to a negative impact on the business by investments from the foreign investors. So which dimension? We can clearly say, students, that this is a political environment, since the political machinery, bureaucrats, officials, government officials have been the cause of the negative impact, and we are supposed to find the cause that led to creation of this negative impact, which can be none other than the political environment. The next in line, and probably the last question from the chapter, which of the following are the examples of legal environment? As I told you, students, whenever you get this component of the environment, you have to look for the acts and their consequences. So the first one is advertisement of alcoholic beverages is prohibited. If a word prohibited is used, it is generally in context of a particular act. Decrease in interest rate of loans, this we can't say because it is covered under the economic aspect. Increase in demand of the organic foods, it is also demand and supply economic. Then lockers for storing the documents, this is something which is relating to the digital world and hence covered under technological environment. In 1993, the Supreme Court has passed an order to close the factories near Taj Mahal. So there's an order or act by the Supreme Court. So we can clearly say that point number 1 and 5 are basically relating as examples of legal environment. So 1 and 5, the option D goes well as answer for this question. So I hope you have got a clear-cut idea. Whenever you are in a confusion of stating the dimension of the environment, always go through and clearly see the cause of a particular change in the business world. When you focus on the cause of the environment, the dimension, you can easily pick the right option. And such questions are generally asked in case study format as well as direct questions in multiple option MCQs format. So be very clear on this. Thank you.